Hey, everybody. How are you? Just wanted to go live a minute so we could get the feed up and running. Welcome. Just want to get this posted for everyone. So give me a second here while I'm doing a few things and we will get this party started. All right. Welcome to Office Hours. I've got some regulars here. Good to see you all here. Very excited about this. You know, every Wednesday, 1 p.m. Eastern, we broadcast live to answer your job search and career questions here on Work It Daily. What is Work It Daily? Work It Daily is the best, in my humble opinion. I'm very biased. It's the best career resource out there, especially on YouTube. And I think you guys all know we're having a huge contest on YouTube right now. Be sure to check the video out. But basically, here's how it works. We want to get to 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, which makes us a certified partner. They certify us as a channel. We want to be one of the top certified channels on YouTube for career and job search advice. But to do that, you have to have 100,000 followers. So when we're at like 73,000 followers right now, when we get to 80,000 followers, 8 followers, we're going to pull at random, will get a 30-day free membership to our platform. When we get to 90,000, 9 more people will get a month in our program. And when we get to 100,000, you got it, 10 more. So that's 27 subscribers here who could end up getting a free month's access to our career coaching platform where you'd work with me and the team of experts on whatever you're working on. So very exciting. If you're already a member of our program, you'll just get a month free. So don't worry about that. If you're one of our followers and members already, love you. And you would just get a free month. So it's eligible to anyone as long as they are a subscriber of our YouTube channel. So if you're here visiting and you haven't subscribed to our YouTube channel, you better do it today because you could win and start working with me and the team. All right. So let's get down to business, shall we? I see lots of people in the chat. Shout out to everybody around the world. I love to know where you're from. We have people all over the place. Even in Work It Daily right now, we're working in over 16 countries in the world, which just blows my mind. Thousands of members, 16 countries. It is absolutely awesome. So I'd love to hear where you're from. Just a friendly reminder that you have to put the word question, just the word question in all caps before your question, and then you can write it out because it goes so fast here. And also, please understand this. There are literally hundreds, sometimes thousands of people watching. We get so many comments. I can't answer every one. So we just kind of pick them at random. If you get lucky, you get lucky. If you want to guaranteed get your questions answered, then you join Work It Daily. And you're going to learn more about that later on because that's the platform where you work with me and the team of experts and get every single career question you have about your particular situation answered. Okay. So just remember, if you can't get your question answered today, there is some place you can go and guaranteed get it answered. Otherwise, it's kind of just a luck thing here. Okay. So let's get started. I'm going to scroll up here, pick a question and get the party started. Kimberly, shout out to Kimberly. She says, what if a recession hits and I'm still in school working on my master's degree? Yeah, so it's not if, it's when, Kimberly. There is a recession that will come. It's called a market correction. Sometimes they're recessions, sometimes they're depressions. And if we look at the history of our culture, this is what happens. Now, we are in the longest period of recovery that we've seen in a very long time. So people are getting nervous. And I personally work with people who the indicators say that we're going to see this in as soon as 9, 12, 18 months. You never know, but it's coming. Doesn't matter. It's coming. So the reality is you don't think about what do I do if it hits when I'm in my master's. You have to think about your whole life because here I am. I just turned 50 and I can tell you that I've personally witnessed 3 market corrections in my career. So what you have to do is just learn how to cope with that this is a reality and that you're going to do what you can in order to work through it. Now, I will tell you the best way to insulate yourself against market corrections is by having an unbelievable personal brand. And by personal brand, I mean, this is marketing your business of one, a reputation, a network of people who actually know how you create value and know that you're an expert at what you do and are willing to vouch for you because this is how you get jobs, especially in a recession. It's all going to come down to referral and who you know. Your network is your net worth. So my advice to you is if you're not strong in networking and building a personal brand, you need some coaching in that area. And that will help you really map out a plan for when you're done your master's and you want to get your first job after your master's, but also build your career for a lifetime because these ebbs and flows, they're just going to keep on coming. And it's the people that know how to build a brand and build their reputation that succeed. We always wonder who are those people that just manage to always happen into their next job and have their next move. It's not luck. They put themselves in the path of that. And you don't have to be overly confident and full of yourself and brag and a narcissist. You don't have to be any of those things. I know some unbelievable introverts that are exceptional at personal branding. In fact, they're so good at it because they serve their network and they support, and through their efforts, they build this reputation. So if you're not familiar with personal branding and strategic networking to build up your network, then these are areas that you should focus on. Now, we have some wonderful videos here on YouTube that are free that you can watch. And of course, we have courses specifically around this with career coaching that you can get at Work It Daily as well. So be sure to check that out. But most importantly, whether you work with us, whatever you do, you've got to educate yourself on personal branding and networking to make sure that you can stay employed for a lifetime. Okay? All right. Good luck with that. Let's see. Next question. What do we got here? Ooh, scrolling fast. Popped up on Diane Wilson. Diane says, can you give any tips on marketing oneself in a new career? Yeah, of course. So here's the thing. People like to hire, they like to pay for specialists, right? They want to know that you can solve their problem, alleviate their pain, make them feel better. So if you're getting into a new industry, new career, new skill set, what's your disadvantage? The disadvantage is you don't have that track record. You don't have that referral base that can say, yes, Diane's awesome. You should hire her. So you've got to create that, Diane. So similar to the first question I just answered, it's going to be about networking and connecting. So what I would have you do is start by creating a bucket list of people, the top 10 people in the industry or in the skill set in your area, and see if they would meet you for informational interviews. And I would start having coffee and conversations with these people and really get to understand what they think it takes to succeed. By interviewing these individuals, getting their insights, you're going to pick up lots of nuggets, but you're also starting to establish yourself within the community. And they're going to be able to recommend you to other people to meet and get to know. And as they have a conversation with you, because conversation is two-way, they're going to see what your personality is like, your aptitude, your experience level. And they're going to go, you know what, Diane, I actually know somebody who might be hiring an entry-level person or somebody with your skill sets. This is how you break yourself into a new field. It's really important that you establish yourself with industry leaders who can go, okay, maybe she doesn't have the experience, but clearly she got into this for the right reasons, has other things that are very advantageous. She would be a great fit. By doing that, you're going to open up a lot more doors for yourself, because right now, if you just try to apply online, nothing's going to happen. They're going to look at you and say, oh, on paper, she doesn't have what I need. Toss her in the no pile. So you've got to get around that ATS. You've got to get around that system. And the way to do that is to establish yourself with people who are already in the industry, who are doing great things in the industry. They can assist you. All right. Excellent. Mark, hey, Mark Molina, shout out. Why are staffing companies not interested in senior recruiters over newbies, but they do want the experienced talent for clients? That's so funny. Yeah, so what he's referring to is that all these staffing companies out there, they're not looking for senior recruiters. They want all these newbies. And honestly, because they want no bad habits in their mind. What they want is somebody fresh that they can mold, who doesn't know the hard work that goes into recruiting. They really want those people just to be sourcers, right? And the other thing too is that it's less expensive, the law of supply and demand. You know, something that we all don't think about. We launch our careers, and our careers often end up in a bell curve, and we don't even mean for it to do that. But this is what happens. So we start out, we have no experience. We're trying so hard. What we lack in experience, we make up for in energy, enthusiasm, hard work. We work overtime, whatever. And we start to climb. And then we start to get better jobs. We get to be selective, and we get the more interesting assignments. And now we're at a place in our career where like, wow, this is hard work. It's good. I'm getting paid well. But also the rest of my life is going on. So this is good. And then right without realizing it, we end up tipping over the other side of the bell. And as we go down that side of the bell curve, what we haven't realized is that our skills aren't as relevant anymore. And even if they are relevant, we've been paid for such a long time at a higher rate, we're being viewed as somebody in a different category. Now, we often hear about this as age discrimination. Honestly, folks, it's experience discrimination. That's what's happening. It just happens that experience coincides with age, right? It's experience discrimination. And I say that because I work with people inside Work It Daily every single day in their 40s and 50s and 60s who claim it's age discrimination until they learn how to turn the situation around. And then they realize all along it was experience discrimination. And you need to recognize that too. Am I saying that age discrimination doesn't exist? No, it does. Absolutely. There are some people that look and see an older person and don't want to work with them. But I am telling you that every other day, I see people who are seasoned, who have figured out how to present themselves for opportunities in a way that younger workers and companies who were looking for somebody who was younger, less experienced can go, maybe I should look at this individual. So I think the technique that you have to use there is start to understand, what are their objections? You got to get at them. What are your concerns? Are you worried about the fact that I have too much experience? You think I'll be bored? Are you worried that I'm going to be too expensive? Are you worried that I might be set in my ways of doing things? And you need to be able to say that in a smiling, engaging way, not in an intimidating and, questioning, antagonizing way. But remember, they're the client, they're the customer. So we have to ask them, well, tell me, what are the objections? What are the concerns? And if you're not getting that feedback, then you've got to go to some folks within the organization. You've got to keep trying until you can really hear, well, what does it take? What does it take for a senior person like me to potentially get a job? What would have to happen and be in place? And then hear it out. So the question to you is, do you want to go through all that or not? Because if you don't, if you're absolutely in love with some employer and you really want to work there, then it's worth it. But if you don't love that employer, then you don't need to make that effort, because it is an effort. It's an effort to sell ourselves, folks. So if you're going to sell yourself and you're going to go out there and find a job, make sure you're going to put the effort in for a place you love, because you want to work there. That's going to make the effort worthwhile. Otherwise, you don't bother. You move on. Okay. I don't know if that's the advice you're looking for, but definitely we could talk about that for a long time. Okay, jumping in here. I see a question from Kirby. Kirby says, recently took redundancy. I've been out of work for over a month. I seem to now be on a recruiter's dead list. What can I do to get noticed again? Yeah. So a month isn't a very long time, Kirby. I mean, I guess my first question is, what are you doing to build your proactive job search? So I'm going to rant a little bit right now with everyone, because I'm working with a lot of people who say to me, JT, I've been out of work for a while, and, I'm applying to a ton of companies, and, I watched a couple of your YouTube videos and I redid my resume and nothing's working. And I get a little frustrated with that, but I have to remind myself that these people don't understand that that isn't job search. Not even close, folks. If you think getting online and spending hours looking at applications and filling them out, painfully filling out these long applications, is job search, you're wrong. It's not. And candidly, it's a waste of your time. 97% of the time, you're never, ever going to hear anything from the employer. Real job search, job hunting, job search is strategic. What you're doing with this application thing is something called spray and pray. It's, let me just throw all my stuff out there and hope something sticks. It's very labor intensive. It has a very low return on the investment, and it's depressing. A really good job hunting, job search is all about targeting. It's about knowing who you are as a professional and the value you provide. How do you exceed expectations? How do you justify the cost of hiring you, the salary that you want? It's really knowing your brand. And then it's saying, okay, I'm not for everyone, but there are a group of employers out there that I am a fit for. And these are the criteria they need to meet. So let me go put that list together. And now I have that list, and I know that to get hired, I have to have some great conversations with some people there who can recognize and see that my personality and my aptitude and my experience are fit for this company. So I've got to connect. I've got to network and get referred into this in place. And on top of that, I have to differentiate myself from the hundreds, sometimes thousands of people that are applying for their jobs. And the best way for me to do that is to tell them the story of why I feel connected to them, to explain to them why I'm one of them, why I respect and admire what the company does for work, the products it creates, the service it creates, how it impacts lives, what it does. It resonates with me. It connects with me. I'm going to tell you that story so that you can see I get you. That is the process. If you think about anything in your life that you've bought that is worth a lot of money, that to you, to part with that money was a big, big freaking deal. No joke. Big deal. You know that you really researched and made sure it was the right thing. And even then, you were a little nervous, but you covered your bases and you tried to minimize the risk of failing or losing that money. Employers are in the same position. So they're really going to have to find somebody who speaks their language and reduces that anxiety. That's on us, folks. And I don't know where along the line we got so, I'm going to say it, lazy with job search. I think it's all the automation, right? You know, Monster comes along and says, hey, post jobs and apply here. And suddenly, you know, we think finding a job should be a point and click away. It's way more than that. If you want to love a job and love the company you work for, you got to do your homework and you've got to build the relationship. It's worth thousands of dollars to you. So, Kirby, you're only a month into redundancy. That's not a long time. It is the perfect opportunity for you to commit to a proactive job search strategy. Take ownership. Find the job of your dreams and do the work it takes to get it. It is so worth it. It's so rewarding. I can't even tell you. If you've ever, done something in your life that took a lot of work, but gosh, you felt like you were high as a kite when you finally achieved it, whether you ran a marathon or you did something, any major life achievement, the work that put into it was worth every minute. Job search is no different, folks. You get out what you put in. I cannot stress that enough. That is why this is so important to me. That is why we're on a mission here at Work It Daily, because we're working with job seekers every day that don't get that they're not really job seeking. And until you're ready to do it, and until you're ready to say, I'm in, JT, I can do it. When you're ready, you come to Work It Daily. You come hang out with us because we've made it so affordable and so much fun to take what you want. It's amazing. It's a game changer, but you have to have that mentality first. If you're not ready for it, you're not ready for it. We know that, right? But I hope I drive that point. I'll get off my soapbox now. I know a lot of you are in job search mode and you're grinding and you're saying it's not working. And I get to be the person that tells you because you're not really job searching. But I hope you hear me and I hope you understand what's on the other side if you're willing to put the effort in. Okay. All right. Great question. Thanks for asking, Kirby. All right. What else do we got there? Oh, I saw a question from Lisa. Hey, Lisa. Recently unemployed after 14 years at the same company. They sold many, lost their jobs as an administrative assistant. Think of getting a CAP certifications. Any thoughts on this? Okay. So a lot of times, so first of all, 14 years with the same company, huge, right? And believe it or not, that's a blessing and a curse because people are going to go, why'd you stay 14 years with the same company? I mean, the company got bought. This sort of stuff happens all the time. Every job is temporary. And now you've got a career pivot. Do I think getting certifications are a good idea? Yes, when they're going to be needed for the type of work that you want to do. So I don't know if you're there yet. First of all, you have to decide, what is it that I want to do next? Again, folks, why do we not do this? Sit down and ask yourself, what do I want in a job? What skills do I want to leverage? How do I add value to an organization? What are they going to pay me for? How do I justify my pay? If you're feeling that this degree or this certification is necessary in order for you to get that, then yeah, you should do it. No question about it. But if you're just thinking about it, you're not really sure, you're not there yet. You need to do your homework. You need to get out there and look and see if these jobs require it. And your dream employers, do they want it? Otherwise, it's just a waste of time. See what I mean, folks? This is another topic I could get into. A lot of times people say, I don't know what I want to do, JT, so I'm going to go get some education. I'm going to go get a certification or some education. And that's going to make me more marketable, right? Well, a lot of times, no. I can't tell you how many people go and get their master's or their MBA, and then they're even more not unemployable. They're even harder to get placed in a job because now they've got all this extra education and they're technically overqualified for more positions, even though they haven't worked. So you don't want to do that to yourself. And that's happening a lot, folks, a lot. So I'm not a big fan of additional education beyond a bachelor's unless you can justify it for me. And better still, you can get somebody else to pay for it, like your employer. That's why I think I would wait on this until you really know for sure. And like I said, maybe get somebody else to pay for it. Okay? All right. Good luck. Let's see. Robert says, recommendation letters, work for hiring managers for a decision. Recommendation letters. No, they do not. And the reason they do not is most people are so cynical these days, they don't believe that the letters are real. Anybody can make up a letter, sign somebody's name, and the references are the way they're going to check you. They're going to want to talk to a human being. They're going to want to hear that person talk about you. So I see sometimes people about recommendation letters, like they attach them to their LinkedIn profile. They're not getting read, and most people don't believe them, just so you know. I would ask those same people that have ever written you a recommendation letter to try to write a recommendation and do some endorsements on LinkedIn for you, because at least it's then tied to their profile and a hiring manager can see the legit connection. But the letter itself, no, pretty old school. All right. Juan Carlos, hey, how long can a recent graduate's resume be? Any advice in general for recent graduates? Yeah, 1 page. Unless you did a lot of really interesting work in high school and college, internships, etc., your resume as a new grad is 1 page. That's all you got. I'm telling you right now. Any longer than that, and it looks odd. Now, again, exceptions to every rule. I've had some young people that were super involved, did a lot of stuff, and it bumped to a 2nd page. But most of the time, based on kind of traditional experiences, you're focused on 1 page, just so you know. All right. Follow up to Kirby's question. George says, when should I accept that the lack of response from my proactive retreat is a sign they're not interested? When do I just become an annoyance? Yeah, I know. Like, we all don't want to be that person, right? And it happens a lot. So what I say is you reach out and ask them to connect. If they connect, you send them a follow-up and try to engage in conversation. If they follow up one time, you send them a thank you, you leave it alone. What you don't want to do is try to keep going online. I've noticed this mistake lately is people think, maybe I can get somebody to have like a 20 email conversation with me. Basically, if you get someone to respond to you and respond to your questions, whatever, then is an opportunity to say, hey, do you think you might be able to spare 10 minutes to chat by phone? Or could you recommend somebody in your organization that you think I could really benefit from chatting with? I want to learn more about what it might take to get hired there and earn a position there someday. And I'd really love to just ask some specific questions, and I don't want to stuff your inbox sort of thing. So think about the cadence of this, getting someone to accept and connect with you and then trying to take that to a phone conversation or a coffee or something like that is really ideal. And also asking them, is there somebody better in your organization you think I could chat with? They'll probably direct you to someone. If you don't hear back after that, let it go. And what I would suggest you do is like make a calendar note, say to 4 to 6 weeks out from that last conversation. And then in 4 to 6 weeks, send them something and don't ask for anything. Find an article that's really interesting or a video related to your industry and say, hey, so-and-so, how are you doing? Saw this, thought of you, thought you might enjoy it. That's it. Just send it. Expect nothing in return, right? And then in another month or so, you could circle back and check in. Hey, I sent you that. What did you think? Or here's another one. What did you think? And try to restart that conversation again. That's the best way to try to define that, so to speak. But it's a dance and you have to think about the whole interaction piece of it a little bit. Okay. Mark says, how to list a on-call and off-call consulting position on resume. You know what? That's just a given. So if you're currently doing that job, but it's on a consulting basis, put the job title and put contract or put consulting or put part-time, however you want to explain that. And they'll ask you that question. Just by having that in parentheses after the job title, for most of us, it makes us understand that that's probably not a full-time gig. Okay. Let's see. Maureen. Hey, Maureen. I have a bucket list. I network and I contact my network most times. No reply. Isn't applying online the only option for us job seekers? Then no, Maureen, it's not. It is not. It means something's going on with your networking, my friend. So my question to you is, you have a bucket list. Have you gone to LinkedIn to see how many of the people that you know maybe know somebody that works at that company? Because it really starts like a snowball. Any of you in the Northeast, like myself, you start with a little snowball, you're going to make a snowman. It's little and you're turning and you're turning and you're turning. And all of a sudden it gets big overnight. Networking works the same way. The beginning is hard, tiny, tiny, tiny. Don't seem to get anywhere. What you need to do is just get that one person at that company to agree to speak with you. And it might take you connecting with 5, 10, 15, even 20 people in that organization to finally get someone. The fastest way to do that is through introduction. So we always want to look and see, okay, this person is a second line connection of mine on LinkedIn. That means I know somebody and they know somebody in common. Let's go see who it is. Then you look at it and say, let me reach out to that person and see if they'll introduce me. Getting referred to somebody is one of the best ways to get that person to actually agree to chat with you. And your goal is to get one person to talk to you live. You got to take it off the online into in person or over the phone. And it's tough in the beginning, but once you get that one person to speak with you and you have a great experience, at the end of that conversation, you can say, this was amazing. Do you think there's somebody else in the organization that might be willing to talk to me? I would just love an added perspective. Could you introduce me to one person? That way you're not asking a lot from them, and they can think of one person to introduce you to have a conversation with, right? And it goes from there. And all of a sudden, you're getting constant referrals, and you're not having to do this initial phase anymore. Right? If you were to ask any accomplished salespeople, they would tell you that in the beginning, it's that initial phase that's much harder to establish connections. But once you got a hook, once you got a connection with someone, they're willing to introduce you to somebody. And these are how those connections grow. So you've got to stick with it, Maureen, absolutely positively. Applying online is not going to do it for you. Pushing until you get those connections, getting those introductions, that's the key. Okay? All right. Question, can you apply too much at a company and get blacklisted? I applied for 3 different jobs at a company over 4 months and have gotten no response after the first interview. Yeah, you can get blacklisted, most definitely. You can get blacklisted from a company, just so you guys know. If you have a bad interview experience, they may put in the notification that you're not eligible for hire there, or, hey, you weren't a fit and you won't get called. So it is possible. I'm not going to say that it isn't. But what sounds like it could be happening here, Jeff, is that you applied, you had a first interview, and now they've thought maybe you're not a fit. And so when you apply to the additional ones, some ATSs are kind of automatically tossing you. So I don't know that I would apply here anymore because it's just not worth it. It's not working. I think what you have to do is go back to this organization and say, I really, after that first interview, I'm really interested in the organization. I know I wasn't the right person that time around. I see that you're always hiring for my skill set. Could you share with me what it might take for me to earn a job there someday? And then I would also think that you need to start to network, not with hiring, not with the recruiting of this company, but with actual people that work there that do the kind of work that you want to do. So similar to the earlier question, you need to go find all the people that know somebody at this company and see if you can get an introduction and start to work it that way. Because what can happen is you can meet and have some nice, meaningful conversations with some people that actually work there, so that then when you do see another job pop up, you can go to that person and say, hey, Jim, it's so great chatting with you and I learned so much and I see that the company's got a position. I've tried in the past. Any suggestions on how you think I can get through and try to earn an interview? Well, now Jeff can walk down the hallway to the hiring manager and say, I met him. I chatted with him. I think we should take a look at him. And this is how you can overcome whatever might be written in the file that says, okay, he's not a fit, right? So it can be done. It absolutely can be done. And again, it's on us to do this, folks. When did we get to the point where we thought that this is just supposed to be so easy? If we want that job and that's the employer we want to work for, we've got to build the network within the company in order to do that. And so that would be my advice to you. See if you can meet and really start to connect an informational interview with people that actually work there, establish some relationships so that when the time comes, you can try to go around that online system. Okay. Really, really good question. All right. Let's see. How about a question from Maria? I had my 3rd interview for a position last Thursday. When should I follow up? I really want to work for this company. Okay, Maria, 3rd interview. That's a big one. So you always got to wait 1 full week. Usually they tell you when you're going to hear from them. If they didn't give you anything, and honestly, next time you're in a 3rd interview, you should close it by saying, can you tell me what the next steps are? But if they didn't give you that info, you've got to wait 1 full business week. So the reality is you cannot talk to them until Friday. You can send a message this Friday and say, it's Maria, just wanted to be proactive and see if there was anything else I could do to further my candidacy because I absolutely love your company and I would love the opportunity to work for you. Do not be shy about your praise for the company. Just tell them you're being proactive and fingers crossed for you. Right now, you got to wait a full business week. Give them time to make their decision. Okay. All right. Good luck, Maria. Let's see. What do we have here? Brock says, I have no college degree, but years of experience in promotions. How do I overcome this obstacle since most companies require a degree? Yeah. So we see this a lot, Brock. And I think the key is to have a really good quantifiable resume. So you're going to want the top fold of your resume to be well branded with your specialty, your key skill sets, any technologies, any certifications you have, that sort of thing, any associations you're a part of that really just show that experience. And then in the work history, it's all about quantifiable accomplishments, numbers, numbers, numbers. So the number of people you've managed or trained, the size of the projects you've worked on, the sales you've generated, the percentages of growth, numbers, 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 because that speaks volumes. You can't sell yourself on something you don't have, but the numbers speak for themselves. And as far as overcoming that natural bias of the college degree, you're another candidate to go around the ATS. Applying online, the filter's probably telling them, look for a college degree. If he doesn't put a college degree in, don't even look at him. So you have got to go around this. You have got to find someone in the organization, connect, and be able to get your resume in the right hand so that person can say, he doesn't have the college degree, but he really has all the other stuff. You got to check him out, okay? The other thing I'm going to tell you is that one of the most important techniques that we can be using these days, folks, when we're going around the ATS is the disruptive cover letter. And we talk a lot about cover letters here on the YouTube channel. Cover letters today need to get them at hello. It needs to tell them the story about why you feel connected to that organization. Again, companies are spending thousands of dollars on you. They're very nervous about that. They don't want to make a bad hire. They need to feel a connection with you. And the cover letter is where you do that, not the resume. So instead of trying to sell the fact that you're, don't have a degree, what you need to do is sell the fact that I get you as an employer. I absolutely get you. And then back it up with this nice factual resume that shows the experience level. Okay. All right. I hope that helps. Okay. So just a quick 30-minute break here. One, you guys are going to let me get a sip of water. Thank you. And two, a reminder, I know that Lindsay, my partner in crime here, is posting for you. If you are interested, if today's the day that you decided to stop going it alone in your job search, if today's the day that you've realized that you need a career coach, because pro athletes have coaches and executives spend thousands of dollars on coaches, and they do that because coaching is a path to greatness, not a sign of weakness. If you're ready to go on the path to greatness, then you need to join us. And we're giving you a special opportunity to do that today so that you can get organized, get focused, and start working on your proactive job search and get help and support from career coaches. Coaching has never been this affordable. We are the only company out there doing this. We have a lot of career coaches and resume writers and all those other people out there not happy with us because we are proving that this doesn't need to cost hundreds and thousands of dollars. We're showing you that for the cost of a gym membership, you could be absolutely taking control of your career. And I'm so excited about this. We're growing very quickly right now, and we plan to dominate in the world and give you back the power, right? People are tired of feeling helpless. They're tired of feeling afraid. They need a place to go that's secure. Somebody said that to me this week inside our platform, and it really struck for me. If I had to tell you one thing that Work It Daily does, it provides a secure environment for you to figure this thing out and then go out after what you want. And that is, I think, the thing that scares most of us. Am I doing this career thing wrong? So I don't want to talk about it because I don't want to embarrass myself. Well, why won't you come inside a private community and get the help you need, the secure environment? So I hope you check us out. I hope you take advantage of the special deal, the office hours deal. Enough on that. Let's get back to answering some questions, shall we? Okay, so Sakisha Sharma. I hope I'm saying that right. I hate when I butcher names. I'm so sorry. How to get referrals from people you just connected with on LinkedIn and don't really know. All right. So I want you to think about this a little bit. So you find a company that you're really into. You reach out and ask somebody to connect with you, and they accept the connection. Okay. So do you think they think that you're not probably looking to establish something or get something in some way? I mean, if somebody reached out to you and connected with you, would you assume that they would never contact you again or never need anything? No, they get it. This is business. This is professional networking, folks. Networking benefits both parties. But in order to get to that place where they're comfortable giving you a referral, they need to get to know you a little better first, right? So what you need to do after somebody agrees to connect with you is have sort of a simple conversation and offer some value. And that's why my favorite technique is to send a video or send an article related to the industry and say, hey, thanks for connecting. I saw this video, saw this article, wanted to get your thoughts on it. What do you think? Do you agree? I disagree with point number 2, or I really like where they said this or that. What do you think? If they respond and give you advice, you're going to get to know them a little better. And that's when you can say, awesome, that's great. Thanks so much. I'm really looking to get to know more people in your organization. Any chance we can grab a few minutes by phone so I can learn more about what you do, or a cup of coffee? Or is there someone in your organization that you think I might be able to speak with? If not you, someone else. That's when you could follow up and ask that, because now you've had that little simple dialogue. You're not cutting right to the chase. So you have to think about, in the same way when you meet people in person, how you get to know them a little bit first before you would ask something like that. You have to do the same thing online. And everyone finds their own way to do this. And understand, folks, you're going to get rejection. You're going to get people that say no, or people that don't respond. That's how this works. But there's over 500 million people on LinkedIn. So there are other people that you can talk to. If someone doesn't connect with you, you can move on. And above all else, let me just tell you that the highest rate of acceptance, the highest rate of getting people to talk to you or respond to you is always going to come when someone else introduces you. When you're borrowing credibility from someone else. So really try to focus your strategy on saying, who do I already know that knows somebody there? Because if they're willing to ask on my behalf, the likelihood that person will respond goes way up. And I think people don't always understand that. You're going to borrow the credibility of somebody else. Look, everyone wins. When I love putting two great people together, somebody comes to me and says, I really need to meet so-and-so, here's why. If I trust them, I put them together, I win, right? They meet each other, I win. So it's not wrong to ask your network for introductions. And you would certainly return the favor. And it does really increase your effectiveness. So be thinking about that and be thinking about the nuances of online networking and establishing that relationship before they ask, okay? All right, so much to cover there. By the way, we have an entire networking course inside Work It Daily that covers all of this step by step, just in case you're wondering. Essence 174 says, I'm a graphic designer applying to small firms. The listings are online and most of them only have 5 to 10 employees. Is it too forward to send an email to the founder? No, it is not too forward to send an email to the founder. If you're comfortable, do it. Let me tell you something. There is a really cool tool, and I don't know how much longer it'll be free. So you guys might want to jot this down. It's called hunter.io, hunter.io. What it lets you do is try to determine the email address of somebody at work. How cool is that? So if you have a great story to tell that you think that you can share with that founder of that small company and say, this is why I love your brand, this is why I love the work that you guys are doing, this is why I get what you do. And if you're ever hiring, I would love the chance to interview. Do it. I mean, what owner doesn't love that story? Doesn't love when somebody sends the message saying, this is why I think you're amazing. Would you ever consider hiring me? I would love the opportunity to interview. Do it. But you got to get that email address. So try hunter.io, right? And you got nothing to lose. And if you follow the disruptive cover letter format that we teach, so again, it would be worth it to check that out and phrase your outreach that way, you're going to get a much better response. Okay. Let's see here. How does an introvert actually network when the thought scares us? Yeah, I get it. I get it, Mark. So my secret weapon for introverts when they are networking is to focus on questions. So before you ever go to a networking event, you want to sit down and think about what are the 3 or 4 really good, interesting, open-ended questions that I could ask at this event that would get the person that I'm talking to doing all the talking. Because I found introverts can be a lot more comfortable in that one-on-one setting where they ask the person the question and that person proceeds to really explain themselves, and it lets them breathe and just listen and talk and have a conversation and not feel put on the spot. I also find that if they ask those 3 or 4 questions, that person really engages in conversation. They get relaxed enough. They feel like they know them well enough that they can now respond and answer their questions. So my advice to all my introverts out there is you need to really brush up on those questions that you know are going to get that person to give you more than a one-word answer. That's going to get them talking and describing something. So, something like, so tell me about your career journey. How did you end up in the job that you're in now? That's not a 2-word answer, is it? That's somebody giving you their whole story, and that lets you breathe, right? So thinking about those questions, committing them to memory and getting good at them, those are your go-tos. And anytime you're in that awkward situation, you don't know where to begin, you simply ask a question. All right. If a recruiter tells you you're the top candidate for a position and the company likes you, but the company is interviewing other people, what does that mean? It means the company is making sure that you're the right choice. What did I say earlier? This is a thousands of dollar decision. You don't meet one person, think they're awesome, and just go with it. You don't. And I know job seekers get mad all the time when they hear that, but I'm the person. Why do they need to look at anybody else? Because they need to know 100% you're the person. And the only way you do that is by comparing you to other people. None of us are going to go out and buy a product worth $30, $40, $50, $100,000, depending on what you're looking for in a salary, and not do our homework and not make sure that we're not missing something. So in addition to interviewing you extensively, even if they love you, they've got to make sure they're not missing something. This is totally normal. Okay. It's what happens. It's part of the process. So you've got to be patient. You got to let them do their thing. And every time you get to interview again with them, you've got to exceed their expectations. That's how it works. That's how you win the prize. All right. Let's see. Very good. All right. So I think I'm good there. Oh, Priya has a question. Priya. How do I convince international recruiters to consider me? Yeah, it's a great question. So, right now, long distance job search or job search where you're trying to get a job someplace else is a hot topic and only getting more important. We have an entire video on how to do that here on YouTube. So after this session, I'm going to really encourage you to watch that, because when you're not in the physical location of where you want to work, that's obviously a huge disadvantage. Recruiters are just not looking for people outside the commutable area. And so you've got to build a strategy to put yourself in their path and to get their attention. And you can't just send a resume. You can't just apply online. Again, folks, the ATS is broken. Stop using it. Stop the insanity. You've got to be able to go around the process instead. And you can do that easier than you realize with a bunch of the tools that we've talked about today, and more importantly, a process for doing that properly. But if you want a job in another state, another city, another country, you have to have a very specific strategy for connecting, because you're going to have to get them on the phone or dialoguing with you to overcome the fact that you don't live there. And so you really need to study that. And I think once you've watched that and you understand that, you can apply some techniques that can help you. Yeah. Let's see. Question. Oh my gosh, this is going so fast, folks. Let's see. So question from Dental Photography. Met EVP at a networking event. She got me a phone screen with HR that went great. At the end of the call, I asked if there was anything that would prevent me from being a great candidate. She said a lack of direct experience, even though I have an IT background. Best way to overcome this, she's setting up informational interviews with leadership team members. Okay, this is a great question. I'm really glad you asked this. So first of all, nice job asking about, is there anything that would hold me back from being for a fit? Brave of you to ask it. And obviously she was willing to give you that feedback. Isn't that awesome? The thing that we knee-jerk react to do is to want to dive right in and go, no, you're wrong. I have that experience. Let me tell you how. I want you to think about the last time somebody did that to you. You told them what you had a concern with, and their response to you was, no, you're wrong. You don't hear anything else after that. You just hear, no, you're wrong. So that's the point I'm trying to make here. When you ask that question and you get the feedback, it's not for you to dive in and start telling them they're wrong and overcome it. I want you to just store it in the back of your mind. I want you to say, thank you. Thank you for telling me that. That is really good to know. And I still want to pursue these informational interviews because I want to learn then what people think it would take for me to get that experience to be considered. So I really want to do these informational interviews. Now, as you go on these informational interviews, you now know what? You now know what the objection's naturally going to be. So now you can ask questions and have conversations and work into it, your IT experience and some of the other things. And you can even say, I know one of the concerns was that I don't have the direct experience. I'm really trying to figure out whether or not this other experience I have would be considered transferable. What do you think? Ask, don't tell. That is the secret. When they give you an objection or a concern, you don't tell them they're wrong. You ask questions that help them figure it out for themselves. And that, my friend, is the difference. Does that make sense? Does everybody get that? That's kind of a biggie here today that I want you to all understand. Ask, don't tell. When they have an objection or concern around your experience, you need to ask some questions that can show them that you, in fact, do have the experience, okay? Because you don't tell people they're wrong. They're the buyer. So you never say that. You just go, oh, great to know. So let me ask you this. I have this IT experience. How is this not transferable? Or do you feel any of it is transferable? See what I mean? Now you're able to change that up. Really important. Great question. Good luck with that. Okay. Let's see. Question, how can a recent graduate land a role without experience? How is a graduate's job process different? Yeah. So actually, all the steps in the process are the same. That is the beautiful part. It's funny. People come into work at Daily and say, oh, I have 20 years experience. It must be different for me. Or I'm a recent grad. It must be different for me. Nope. The sales process is always the same in sales. The job search process, which is a sales process, is always the same. Okay. It's what you have to market about yourself that's different. That's it. Your features and benefits as a new grad are different than the features and benefits of somebody who's been working for 20 years. So you've got to think about that. What I lack in experience, what do I make up for? Enthusiasm. I have no bad habits. I'm a sponge. I'm moldable, right? I'm less pay than somebody that's more expensive. You have competitive advantages as a new grad. And those are the ones that you need to play up and market about yourself. And when you know how to do that, you're able to make that great impression. I will also tell you that our disruptive cover letter, again, watch the free tutorials, but that is a game changer for recent grads because employers just aren't expecting it. They aren't expecting this new grad with no experience to tell them this incredibly interesting story about how they feel connected to the company. And that's when they go, it doesn't matter that he doesn't have experience. This story was so awesome. He clearly gets us. We can train him. We can figure that out. But that's the point you have to get across, right? So it's the techniques. The process is the same. The job search process is the same. The techniques are really important and they're consistent too, but it's how you pull out what's special and different and unique about you and incorporate it into the techniques in the process that are going to get you hired. Okay? All right. Just a reminder, if you haven't subscribed to our channel, subscribe. You could be one of 27 people that gets a free month inside the Work It Daily program, right? See the details in the video on the homepage. But if you haven't already hit that button down here, up here, wherever, make sure you're doing that, okay? All right, team, let's see. So I've got 15 more minutes before I've got to close out of here. What questions can I answer for you today? Oh my gosh, what is this question here? Hello, JT. It's your big fan, Derek. Hey, Derek. I'm the Fortune 500 Silicon Valley company project manager that came to you here for help with the horrific manager. Yes, who was derailing my job search for 6 months. I followed your advice to tackle his bad references, and it worked like magic. I'm now balancing between 2 offers. Awesome. That's fantastic, Derek. Congrats. If I already have plenty of experience in startups, would it be more beneficial to continue the trend or pick up the second offer I have coming at a major multinational bank? Okay. Wow. That's a great question. So this is one of those kind of key moments that happens in our careers where we get 2 really interesting offers. They're both a little different. And we're trying to what? Fortune tell. We're trying to look into the future and figure out which type of company is going to look better on my resume. I'm actually going to tell you to not look at the company. I want you to look at the problem that you've been asked to solve and the pain that you've been asked to alleviate and the skills, Derek, that you're going to most be using in these next 2 jobs. What I want you to ask yourself is 2 years from now, fast forward 2 years in both of these jobs, what are you going to be a specialist in? How are these 2 assignments going to grow you as a professional, make you more valuable to employers? What skills and abilities will you have that will differentiate you? Okay. And then I need you to ask yourself, of those 2, which one do you think will have more widespread appeal? The one thing we always want to be careful of is choosing a job. Maybe it's got more money and maybe it's with a really cool company. But if the problem we're solving and the skills that we're going to be developing aren't trending in the direction of the future, and aren't the kind that if something was to happen there were plenty of other opportunities, then we're sending ourselves sort of off tangent down a dead end road. And that happens more often than not. So I need you to look at both of these and say, at the end of 2 years, which skill sets do I think would be more marketable, more valuable to a larger group of employers, and why? It's a lot less about this type of company, Fortune 500 versus startup. It's a lot more about what you're being hired to solve. Does that make sense? I hope it does. Good luck, Derek. Let us know how you make out. Awesome. Christina. Hey, Christina. Hey, JT. Is it true that if you are currently unemployed, the ATS will toss you out of the hiring process? It can be true. Yeah, Christina, it can be true. So company ATS systems, just so you all know how they work, what the company does is they customize what they're looking for. So as thousands of applications are coming in, because literally that's what happens now, people post jobs all over the place and people of all types just apply to them randomly. So the problem now is they get 1,000 applications, the majority of which are completely unrelated to the job. So the company says, well, here's the filter ATS. I want people who are currently working. I want people who have a degree. I want people who have X years of experience in this. And now the ATS system goes out, looks at your application, and it weeds out anybody that doesn't have what they're looking for. So if that's one of the criteria that they've set, then it's very possible that you're being tossed. Yeah. And the other challenge that we have is that the unemployed are discriminated against. Forget age discrimination for a second, folks, and experience discrimination. We talked about that. Unemployment discrimination is real. That is real and legit, and one that I work with people on every single day inside Work It Daily, because the reality is recruiters say, well, you're unemployed. There must be a reason that somebody didn't keep you. Now, there's really solid reasons for that. We've seen that today. People are made redundant all the time. Companies right size all the time. That doesn't mean that you're not super talented and fantastic. But how you market yourself has to change, because if you're between jobs, things like this can happen. Again, the ATS is broken for 97% of us. This is why it's not worth using, especially if you're between jobs right now. Okay. So you've got to work your plan. You've got to go around the ATS, and that will work. Let's see. Sunshine. Hey, Sunshine. How long does one keep looking for a position in their industry yet need to get a good income today with a job, temp to pay the bills? I have to be honest with you. If you can get a temp job right now, you can get something to pay the bills, then it's worth it to do it. Every job's temporary. Sometimes we have to take assignments that we don't really love in order to pay our bills. That's just reality. And that's going to give you a little bit less stress so that you can do the proactive job search that we talk about. Job search is not a full-time job. I do not believe it's a full-time job. When done correctly, job search is very strategic. It's a few hours a day, but it's very intentional, right? You've got a targeted list. You know what you're working towards. And so if that's the case, there's only so much that you can do in a given day. And that's why your job search will take some time. So taking a temporary job to pay the bills, help you working also means you're working. So you're no longer unemployed. That's a good thing. There's a lot of pluses to it. And you just remind yourself, this is temporary. This is temporary in affording me the opportunity to go after what I really, really want, right? And you have to have that mindset. Essence 174 says, how do I reconnect with connections I have but have not spoken to in years without coming off like I want something? How do I establish a relationship with them? Okay. So this is a really common question I get a lot. People will say, oh my gosh, a bunch of people that I work with a decade ago are on LinkedIn, but I just feel so stupid reaching out to them. They're going to know I want something. Again, people, this is why professional networking exists. It exists because they help us and we help them someday, right? If they help you, they now have an IOU in their back pocket and they're going to come and ask you for help someday. This is what networking is. It's not always a perfect exchange. On any given day, I'm not going to need something for you and you're going to need something for me exactly on that day. That's not how it works. It's kind of a system of IOUs. But more importantly, there's nothing wrong with being honest. Hey, I know we haven't talked in a decade. We haven't connected in forever. I want to do a better job with my network. How are you? What's going on? What's new in your world? That's all you have to do. It is what it is. They're probably going to go, thank goodness. Because if you're thinking it, do you think they're thinking it too? Absolutely. I mean, I've done this all the time. I'll reach out to people and say, oh my gosh, we have not talked in 7 years. What's going on? I've never had somebody go, how dare you, JT? How dare you reach out to me after 7 years? I get, awesome. How are you? Here's what's going on in my world. That's what it's about, folks. You can rekindle a connection at any time. Just be genuine, be transparent. Okay? Awesome. Love it, love it. What's the advice you gave Derek to tackle his bad references from his ex-manager? Yeah, so we were talking about that. If references are a big deal, folks. Companies do check references, and you need to know if your references are giving bad references or not. So one of the things I always suggest people do is they have a good friend or a colleague call up and act like they are an employer and do a reference check on you and hear what people have to say. They'll tell you what they have to say. And there are two important questions that you always want to ask when doing a reference check is the person eligible for rehire? Right? So you want to ask that are they eligible for rehire? And can you tell me about, their strengths and their weaknesses, those kinds of things. Are they eligible for rehire is a pretty big deal, because if a company says no, ooh, right? We want to know why. And then we want to know their strengths and weaknesses. So you want to find out what's being said about you in a reference check. If you know that you're getting bad references, and this happens a lot, right? Managers that weren't so great, you leave, they're not going to say nice things. That's how it is, or they're not going to say anything at all, which is also a form of not nice things, because by default, they're saying, I'm not saying anything at all, so I can't say anything good. Okay. So if you've got bad or neutral references, the way that you offset them is by going on the offensive. And that is, when it comes time for a company to check your references, you prep them for what's going to happen. You say, look, I am going to give you these references, but I'm going to be really transparent with you. Here's what happened at XYZ. I've been told that my manager is not giving good references on me. I expect you're going to hear something like this or this. I'd really love an opportunity to talk it through with you. There's nothing I can do. I learned a lot from that experience, and I can't control what he says. I can offer you peers, other people that worked with me there, to really offer a counterbalance point for you. I just don't want his reference to be the only thing you evaluate me on, because I did really do great work there. And I know if you talked to other people, you'd get a different story. So see how you're being able to say, look, I'm not going to stop you from getting the reference. I want you to get the reference. I also know what you're going to hear. And I really like the chance to give a counterpoint of view and give you some other people to talk to just to balance it out. That says a lot, doesn't it? It's you really explaining it. So now when they get that negative response from the manager, they're like, it's just like he said it was going to be. Maybe I should listen to what his other folks have to say. That's how you get around that. And I see it happen all the time. Okay, very good. So listen, I've got about 4 minutes to go. I want to thank everybody for stopping by. It was really great to see you all. Great turnout as always. A couple more reminders just before we close out. 1, subscribe to the channel. Help us get to 100,000. You might win a free month inside the program. Work with me and the team. So tell your friends, share it. The sooner we get to there, the better the chances you can win. We'd really be grateful. If for no other reason, hey, when you share good, smart career content, you look good, right? We talk about networking all the time. When you share good stuff, if you think it's good stuff, then by default, you are the people that recommended the content. So you look good. So remember that. And secondly, look, if you want to work with career coaches, there's no better way to try it out, right? We have no setup fees. You can cancel at any time at Work It Daily. It's a monthly subscription. You are never going to see career coaching at this level so inexpensive. I'll be perfectly honest. And we offer people who come here, you spend an hour working with me today. That's worth something to us. We give you a discount so you can try it. It's really risk-free. I hate to hear people out there struggling day in and day out, and even worse, making bad decisions and making bad career moves because they couldn't consult resources who have the right answers and who can talk them through their situation. We all deserve career coaching. We use doctors, dentists, lawyers, accountants, personal trainers. Anytime we want something better for ourselves in our life, we use a specialist. But for some strange reason, we all think we're supposed to do our career by ourselves. That's ludicrous. It is the mission of Work It Daily to change that. We all deserve our own career coach, and you can have one if you join us, okay? So I really hope that you do. If you don't, that's okay, though. Stay subscribed to the YouTube channel and come back next week and hang out with me next week here for another hour, and maybe I'll answer your questions too, okay? All right, team. You have been phenomenal. An hour always goes really fast here. Thanks again. Questions, comments, feedback, you know what to do. Put it down below. Otherwise, have a great rest of the week. I'll see you next week. And remember what we always tell you. If you want to win, you've got to work it daily. All right. Take care, everyone. Have a great one. Bye-bye.